the biggest personal thing really is encapsulated in the hero's journey. The hero's journey, Carl Jung talked about this, Joseph Campbell, and now Jordan Peterson, those three are really good at understanding this hero's journey stuff. Because the three of them, they're all looking back thousands of years over time, and they're all looking at, hey, why is there this same reoccurring story? Like every movie that you watch, and they're just retelling this same kind of story. This hero who's kind of stuck in the normal world, he knows something is wrong, then he gets this weird call to action, he's like, oh no, I don't want to be a part of that, so he kind of pushes it away. Then he gets unwillingly sucked into this new world, and now he's forced into it, and now he's naked, he's got nothing, no friends, and he's forced to fight and survive and figure out what to do, and so he's got to meet new friends and allies, and then they start kind of building him up, and now he's getting his skills, and then he's got to take on the first challenge, and they kind of test it out, and like, okay, our training is paying off, you're starting to get this, and there's kind of a high time, and then the enemy goes, okay, now I see you, and the enemy comes back and has a massive fight, and in the hero's journey, the hero has to die. If the hero does not die, he does not get the rebirth. He does not get the freedom from the fears and doesn't get to be transformed. And the most important thing on the hero's journey is the death, is the dying of the ego, the dying of fear, the dying of pain, the dying of I don't do that, the dying of I have limitations. And finally the hero realizes this shit will not fucking stop. I can never draw a line and say, that's enough. Every line I draw in my life, the monsters escalate it. That's enough pain, I get more pain. That's enough chaos, I get more chaos. That's enough depression, I get more depression. And so the hero's journey is somebody that has all throughout time gotten through that. Because here's kind of the sad truth that's still kind of okay. Most people don't make it through. They don't go up against, they don't take on their largest dragons. You know, who the hell does that? And then the very few that do, very few actually make it through. Most people take on their greatest fears and lose. And if you're not physically dead yet, then you have the ability to restart the video game and try it again. Because what they talk about in the hero's journey is that it's not one journey. It's not like, I was 29, I had my hero's journey. It's like, yeah, you'll definitely have some big ones in life, but you can have hero's journeys all the time in smaller scale as well as larger scale. Just for an example, like when you watch military documentaries and the guys are trying out for the Navy SEALs or Army Rangers or whatever, a lot of them have gone through these initiation classes, which is basically the hero's fucking journey, where they have to break them down until they finally become immune to pain and weakness, right? These guys have been going through these classes 3-4 times. So when they fail, the ones that really want it, they just come back, So the point is, you should get your ass kicked by your dragons the first 100 times you try and take them on. You should lose the first several times you take on this hero's journey. And that's why it's so much more triumphant when you finally do fucking win when you're older, So this hero's journey thing, it's kind of been the framework of how to put it all together. You learn about your functions and your type. So the fuck what? You know how many psychopathic losers I know that know more about their type than I do? And what the hell are they doing with it? Nothing. Just sitting there browbeating each other, talking about how good they are and bad this guy is, right? How many people, especially like in my grandparents' generation, World War II generation, god damn, those old folks, they were dumber than a stick. They were hardly educated. They hated psychology. That was like anti-Christian. So, but why were they the greatest generation? Why are they the biggest, baddest group of badasses that we've seen in hundreds of years? When I would talk to people in the old generation, you know what they would talk about? They're like, yeah, World War II is pretty hard, but I'll tell you what was really hard. I'm like, what? The Depression. The Depression was really hard. We didn't have food. We didn't have rest. We were constantly afraid. They all talked about the Depression being worse than World War II. I mean, how fucked up is that, right? And then that generation comes back, builds all the roads, buildings, freeways. So what the hell happened there? Why was the dumbest generation transformed into the greatest generation that built this great place that we all spit on and hate, right? Because they went through hell. They were all transformed on a large scale. And now here we are all cozy with our smartphones thanks to all the freedom that they got us. And now we're getting weak again. So the point is the hero's journey, it takes you out of that and it puts you through a challenging thing. And it forces you to grow or die. And that's the only way it works. So I was going through the internet trying to find some slides here because I like to use slides off the Google as much as I make fun of the Google, because the Google is kind of like the collective unconscious, right? You have the tribe, you have the hive mind throwing out millions of ideas. The most liked ones kind of rise to the top. So it's a kind of a collective unconscious tool if you think about it that way. I think this really explains it well. It's this process of you're a loser, You get pulled into hell. You have to learn how to grow. You fight the devil, you lose. You fight the devil, you lose again. You fight the devil, you die. You come back to life as a new person without the old fears. And now you come back to the regular people and you can give because you're no longer afraid of the darkness because you are now part darkness. It doesn't matter. Darkness, light, good, evil, pain, pleasure, you own them both. You don't fucking care. And that's the transformation. The biggest thing that I see starting off in this journey is this one right here. Number one, limited awareness of the problem. Unconsciousness. Unconsciousness and blame. I don't know what the problem is. It's this guy, it's that guy, it's the economy, it's my mom, it's my dad. And there's this super unconsciousness that you're not looking in your demons, because how can you? And then it's the blame that it's everyone else's fault. And then kind of steps 2, 3, and 4, it really now becomes about fear. Fear. When people are forced, like, hey, your bullshit's not working out. Your blaming is not working. You're getting older and you're still in the same spot. Now what, motherfucker? Now the fear starts to set in. Right there, before you go under, before you cross the line and go into the darkness, 99% of people run back up to step 1. How? Drugs, video games, escapism, Netflix videos, whatever, man. Just get out of the fear, because you're not going to go into the fear. They're going to run back and get out of the fear. Repeat, 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 repeat. Now you're 80, you're dead, nobody misses you. So it's the person that gets sucked under. Usually they're forced to get sucked under, because you're not going to choose the amount of pain that you got to go through. Your body just won't accept it, unless you're trying out for the Navy SEALs for some god-awful reason. So it's getting sucked under into the abyss, into the hell. It's moving out of your parents' house, jumping on a train, buying $50 of get me the hell out of here, showing up in the middle of Missouri, and just starting over your life there. That's getting plunged into the darkness with no return. So we'll talk about in the future, like, how to navigate through this and all the steps and what it means and all that really fun stuff. But the thing that I really kind of want to introduce to you today is just a couple things. Number one, that this is a universal idea. This has been around for thousands of years. This is in our psychology. And so when you can see yourself in your life, in this movie, in this hero's story, it gives you a map. It lets you know, oh, I'm in the shit bin. I'm right where I'm supposed to be at step 1. I'm in step 1, and step 1 feels like shit, and I feel like shit. I'm doing good. Everything's normal. I'm supposed to be miserable and in hell. Now, if I stay here, I can stay here. That's my fucking choice. Or I gotta learn to fight, which is also my choice. The point is, what history is telling us is, it ends. You can get out. You can get through it. So many people have done it. We fucking write stories. There's a fucking map right here on the goddamn internet. That has been the biggest thing that has helped me throughout real life. As much as the functions kind of give you a lot of tactical tools that are really specifically useful, but they're not going to take you from A to B. This will take you from A to B. And then number 2, that first little thing there of fear, really soak that in, the fear and the pain and the panic and the blame and the unconsciousness that you have, we all have. That's the buildup of the launch of the journey. And if you move towards that, you can break into the abyss and get started. You move away from that, you just have to repeat it again and again and again and again, and people never get out of that. And that is a truly miserable life. I'd rather have a lot of pain now, go through hell for a few years and get the fuck out of it, than forever be in this poison drip of hell your whole fucking life.